for Jewish Calgarians and Jewish people everywhere. The holiday season starts tonight. The Festival of Lights, better known as Hanukkah, means a candle will be lit each night for 8 days. Local historian Harry Sanders is here to give us some background on Hanukkah in Alberta, and he brought some traditional food along with him, including latkes, so I'm very excited about that. But first of all, let's talk about the Jewish community in Alberta, specifically in our city, and its roots.
Well, in Alberta, it goes back to the end of fur trade times. A fellow named Silverman came through Alberta in 1869 as a fur trader. So that's the origin there. And then the Jews were actually involved in building the railway from Medicine Hat to Calgary. And there was the Repstein brothers followed the railhead with their cheap cash store as the railway was built across Western Canada. So the Jewish community goes back there. Now, for the Calgary Jewish community, the permanent Jewish community, Jacob and Rachel Diamond moved here in the summer of 1889. So that's the permanence. And then by the census year 1911, by coincidence, there were as many Jews in Calgary as there are commandments, 613.
Oh, funny.
Total coincidence. So by that time, they built a synagogue. The House of Jacob was the first incorporated synagogue in Alberta. It's right where Bow Valley College is right now. No sooner was there one synagogue than they were going to build a second synagogue. You know, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. But continued to develop, and actually in Calgary, the Jewish community peaked twice at 2% of the city's population in the 1920s and again in the 1940s.
Okay, so it's nowhere near that right now. You told me it's sitting about 10,000.
Something like that. So less than 1% of Calgary's population. I think Edmonton is probably equivalent, but in both of the major cities, schools, community associations, community centers, and there was a whole phenomenon of Jewish farming. My dad grew up in a Jewish block settlement north of Drumheller at Rumsey, went to a country synagogue.
And if you go to Heritage Park, you'll see that synagogue.
A similar one, yes. There was a Jewish block settlement near Sibbald, right by the Saskatchewan border in the southeast corner of Alberta, and that synagogue was identified, saved, moved into Heritage Park, and restored as part of Heritage Park.
Well, so the Jewish culture drenched in history, and of course everybody knows about Hanukkah, but might not know exactly what it signifies. So what is Hanukkah?
Well, as Jewish holidays go, it's a minor one, but it does get extra play because it comes at Christmas time.
Yes.
So the idea is this. It takes place a couple of hundred years before the life of Jesus. So this is before the Roman Empire, and the Jews were occupied by, it was the remnants of Alexander the Great's empire. So the Seleucids based in Syria were trying to unify their empire by having one religion. So they were trying to make the Jews into, have a Hellenized culture and be pagans. And a lot of Jews went along with this. There were a lot of Greek-speaking Jews who wanted to go along with this, others who were very traditional and didn't want to buy into this Hellenized lifestyle. So there was a 25-year war that concluded in a Jewish victory. They were able to retake the temple in Jerusalem and rededicate it. This is the meaning of the word Hanukkah, is dedication or rededication, and light the menorah in the temple. And then the story of that goes that they needed pure olive oil to light the menorah, but the temple had been defiled by pagan use. They were only able to find one small jar that was only enough to last a day, but it would take 8 days to make a fresh batch. By a miracle, that one jar lasted the 8 days that it took to replenish the supply of pure olive oil to keep the menorah lit. So that's why it's an 8-day holiday and why we light the candles. And if you don't mind, I'm going to light it. I'm not going to say the blessings because it's not yet the holiday.
Right. It's not till sundown tonight.
Sundown tonight, but I will put on my tartan kippah that I got at the Robin Bernstein dinner at my synagogue last year.
Excellent. So the oil motif is also why the food around Hanukkah it involves oil, so latkes, and you say that word for these donuts.
Sufganiyot, yes.
Sufganiyot.
So there's oil used in the food, and my wife Kirsten made these latkes, and she made the applesauce for dipping in them. I've also brought some sour cream for use with that.
And I see you have some Hanukkah gelt over there, which is the chocolate money.
Yes, which my son called when he was small. He got a bag of this, and he said, "Oh boy, Hanukkah gelt." But the idea for the gelt, and I'm just going to quickly light it. The idea for the gelt, it was illegal to study the Torah under that Seleucid rule, that Hellenized Assyrian rule. So Jews would, if they gathered to learn the Torah, they'd have to have some excuse for why they were getting together. So if the soldiers came by, they'd say, "Oh no, we're just playing with a spinning top. That's all we're doing. That's why the dreidel."
This is the dreidel.
And then there's an acronym on here, Nes Gadol Hayasham. There was a great miracle there. But you can turn each of those letters into an instruction for a gambling game, where one of them means you get nothing, another one means you get the whole pot. Another one, you get half the pot, and another one, you got to pay into the pot.
And when you're a kid, you get the whole pot.
Yes.
Because that's what happens.
That's right. Everybody
you're a kid.
wins.
Okay, light the menorah.
I will. With my matches. Also, I brought another one. This is just for fun. It's a menorah made out of an old bicycle chain. So you can have fun with your menorah.
This is very, very cool.
And we'll light it, and we place the candles. The center candle is an extra one. It's the servant candle that is used to light the others. And then we place them from left to right, from right to left, but we light them from left to right.
All right,
And that's
Harry,
important for some reason.
This has been a wonderful lesson. You are just a wealth of information. Thank you so much, and happy Hanukkah to you.